everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Brandon.
Today, Brandon and I are going to tell you how we felt about Men in Black International, the fourth in the Men in Black series. Initially, there had been talk about this being a crossover with 21 Jump Street.
Really?
Which didn't end up happening. I thought you knew about that. We talked about this back when
there was talk about it. Yeah.
And what we got instead was Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson, who were liked so much in Thor Ragnarok. I guess the Men in Black producers decided to throw them together again in this film, and we have just seen it, and we're going to chat about it a little bit and tell you how we felt about it. This movie, as the title implies, puts us out of America into London and sees a new Men in Black agent who is played by Tessa Thompson, who is Agent M now, even though Michael Jackson wanted to be Agent M.
Yes, he did,
now we got.
he?
And have you? Do you wonder about the letter thing? They got different branches. We're finding out, but only 26
there's only 26
letters.
characters. I thought of this in the theater. I almost said something. I was like, they ran out of letters a long time ago. I feel like.
How's that working?
Probably.
Like, there's a high T? Are there other T's?
Yeah, that
then?
was interesting. So he's high T. I feel like high T was actually a kind of a reference to having tea in Britain. I kind of felt like maybe like high tea.
If that's what it is, that's really creative.
I'm not sure, but that seems like they had tea and crumpets.
Or you were floundering and you figured and you came up with something, but maybe that's what it is. I wondered if maybe in Britain. That makes a lot more sense than what I was thinking. Because this is a thing I don't know. I wondered if maybe in Britain instead of upper and lowercase, it was like high.
Ooh.
Higher K and right?
I don't know.
Maybe that's what that is, where he's like uppercase T. I don't know. It's probably what you're talking
legit,
about,
but I don't know if it is.
I have no idea. Our
I was thinking like high
UK
noon,
viewers can tell us, but
No,
I'm with you. It's probably that, but. And then I'm wondering, is there still an Agent T running? There must be another Agent T running around, like Warburton's T from Men in Black 2.
That's right.
Because we already had an Agent T.
Yeah, so they must reuse letters. I feel like at some point, like they don't retire letters. I'm sure.
Yeah, and then like, have we had double letter? I feel like we had double letters somewhere, but maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I'm not remembering. Anyway, but yeah, you've only got 26 letters, and we find out there are
double U out there.
There are multiple branches, which is a thing you'd think would have been brought up at some point. And you get the sense that there's just the one, or at least that's what I always thought. I always thought there was just it's out of New York, and that's what there is. But then
I thought they were over the world,
Because I thought the whole idea was supposed to be that being kind of like the airport for aliens. You had more aliens in New York than you had anywhere else.
Right,
there just weren't a lot in other places. But like, I wasn't against the notion of there being an MIB International. I just never thought of it before.
Because aliens wouldn't just be staying in the United States.
Sure.
But I feel like in the first couple of movies, it was kind of that's the only place that they had like proper access to Earth was to go through New York.
Yeah, exactly. That was the hub.
Right.
But an issue I've got with this, and we'll go ahead and get into sign flips in a second. The issue not the issue. An issue I had with this was it seems like aliens are everywhere. Like,
but they kind of were.
But even more so. And we get like a number in the first movie of like how many are around most of them. Maybe there's a lot more of them now. But in this film especially, I had a really difficult time buying that they were hidden.
Especially with the technology displayed the way they were kind of doing it in this movie. You
get the background with Agent M, and this isn't a major spoiler because it's in the trailers, but you get the, and I sort of like this idea. You get this background with her that like she is special because she figures them out in the first place, and she makes her whole life about finding the aliens and finding the Men in Black, and she doesn't actually have any other kind of life, which I wish had been brought more to the fore and was more at the center of a character arc, but whatever, where all she cares about is discovering the Men in Black and finding aliens in order to do that.
That's kind of her life's purpose at this point.
But the idea that this doesn't happen all the time is kind of ridiculous. That you wouldn't, because the idea is her parents got flashy thingy, but she didn't.
Right.
And you'd think there would be like a bunch of people all over the place that like enough that it would become more of a problem for the Men in Black.
Well,
like,
and it did.
The
It was
neuralizers
in one of the movies. They had the guy who was at the morgue. He didn't get in the first movie. He didn't get neuralized. So it has happened, but you're right.
Sure.
It should have happened way more.
And they do the same thing with this that they do with him, which is just nobody believes them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's what creates the hot sheets and all of that. So, like, there are people running around that know that and just nobody's talking about it. I just feel like there would be so many.
There'd be so many, but also a lot of the people, like, they should have tabs on those people, too, because they should have come up in other things that they were doing. Like, Molly should have come up in other research. She makes a point.
That's a really good point.
Emma Thompson's, it's Emma Thompson, right?
Yes.
Her character makes a point of, we didn't know about this girl? Like, how did we miss this? And for an organization...
And that's a good question that there's not an answer to.
For an organization that is this entrenched in alien culture and this advanced and is above the government, they sure do get broken into and hacked a lot.
Yeah. And so I guess... and that's already been an issue.
Right.
So I guess, like, the suspension of disbelief was already kind of lost on me there, but here it was even worse. But anyway, well, let's go ahead and get into best thing, worst thing, and do the sign flip. Brandon, how did you feel overall about Men in Black International?
Overall about this movie, I did appreciate.
And let me mention real quick, sorry, before you get into that Brandon's here because he's a giant Men in Black fan.
I do love Men in Black.
And I should also mention that he likes the sequels more than anybody I know. So I'm curious to see if this falls in line with you, because Brandon seems to just... This is going to sound mean. Brandon seems to like things that are called Men in Black, so I'm curious to see if you have any issues with this movie at all.
Okay, if I'm going to line things up in how I like them, I'm going to say that I probably like the second one is going to be on par with this. Like, I can't tell whether the second one and the fourth one are on par.
And are you putting 3 above those?
I'm putting 3 above those 2. So the second and the fourth are kind of equal for my least favorite.
I'm totally with you.
Third is my second favorite, and the first one is still the most endearing to me because it was my introduction,
Well, it's not. But it's probably not just because it's your introduction. It's the
best
really
of them.
Good one.
Right? No,
and I still feel like at the risk of giving away what I thought of this already, like we still don't have a great Men in Black sequel. It just hasn't happened yet.
But I will say, like, I do think that number 3...
And not one that feels really authentic to that first film. Like, everything feels like... And remember, 2 and 3 are still directed by Sonnenfeld. This is the first one that's not. And I mean, you can really tell. Like, there's... it's a really differently directed movie.
It totally is.
But they're all shadows of that first movie.
They are shadows, but I will say that even 3 is still well above 2 and 4 for me. So even though they're on the same level, like, we've got 1 way up here, and we've got, like, 3, and then we've got 2 and 4.
That retroactive thing in the third act of 3 kills it pretty hard for me, but on just an entertainment level through that film until we get to that, I mean, I enjoyed it a lot more than 2 or this, but yeah.
So as far as this movie goes, I'm going to say I am feeling it. I enjoyed it, but not in the way... I thought it was an okay movie. It wasn't great Men in Black. It had certain elements in there. I will say one thing that I really disliked about this movie that none of the other movies had was the amount of sexual references. I just wasn't... just the relationship stuff and, just the fact that he slept with that alien on the spoiler alert. He slept with that alien on that... when he was in with that gang, right?
You're talking about Hemsworth, yeah.
Yes. So, sorry, Hemsworth character. It just didn't flow for me.
Is that why he's Agent H? Because he's Hemsworth? I didn't think of that until just now.
No. I mean, he does give a fake name later, but yeah, that might just be that they...
I'm just saying, is that why they
That'd be pretty
H?
funny. That'd be pretty funny, but, so the thing that I liked most about this movie... Well, that's a good question. I actually hadn't given any thought to that.
I mean, you flipped your sign green, so there must have been things you liked.
There were things that I liked. Overall, I just thought it was an okay movie. Let's see. The thing probably I did like the types of weapons they had. I thought that was kind of cool. The soundtrack wasn't bad at all. I thought the soundtrack was in keeping kind of with the first and the second one.
I thought the score in this was abysmal.
Really?
It's really bad.
Oh, maybe I wasn't paying attention enough to it, but
really bad.
There was one moment in the score where it kind of got mushy, and I'm like, okay, I don't like
No,
that.
it didn't. There were like 14 moments where it got really mushy.
Okay,
that's
well,
my
there's
problem
one that
with
I'm
it.
thinking of specifically, but
It gets real sitcom-y. Yeah, it's bad.
and there was another transition
Or
where
like-
it sounded like they were inserting a laugh track. I mean, it was transitioning to a party, but it still didn't flow. So I'm with you on a couple of those spots.
I mean, that's not score, but yeah,
No,
it's
yeah.
it also has
Sound
pacing and
editing.
editing issues. Yeah,
sound editing, but yeah,
or like 90s rom-com.
I'd watch it again, but at the moment I really can't tell you why. Maybe just
See,
I'm
he
a
just
fan
likes
of Men in
things that have
Black.
Men in Black at the title. I'm sorry.
I'd probably have to watch it again to totally cement my opinion of it. I'll say that much. But
Sure.
for right now, I would definitely watch it a second time.
I will not.
Not
if
in
I
the theater.
I will not if I can help it.
If it's free, I'll watch it a second time.
Yeah, you couldn't pay me to go back to this.
Okay.
And I'm like, maybe down the road we'll do a commentary because we've done 2 of them and we haven't done 3 yet. So I don't know. Maybe down the road we'll do that. But that would be about the only reason I would. Real easy, quick, not feeling a sign flip for me. I didn't like this movie at all.
Okay.
There are, I don't know. Oddly, the third act is kind of better than the rest of it. Like some of the setup is sort of okay, but like once I know where we're going with the villain plot and everything at the end, and the mysteries revealed and stuff, it's like slightly better. Although I think a lot of that is pretty predictable. Like the big. I don't even want to say the big twist because it's telegraphed halfway through. Like I kind of know how this movie's going to end.
Yeah.
With the exception of there was a thing about the big bad guys, the Hive, that we don't know until the end that was like kind of satisfying. If I had spent more time with them, maybe I would have cared more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of a mess, Brandon. Like I wasn't really on board with the chemistry between the 2 main characters. I feel like it's hanging real hard again, like we keep doing with Hemsworth movies on made up dialogue in the moment. I don't think he's a great improv comedian.
Right.
Everybody that works with him is constantly talking about how great he is at improv. I don't see it. I don't understand that. And
I will say I've seen outtakes from
not-
other Men in Black movies that were better than some of the lines in this movie.
It's not Ghostbusters bad, but there are scenes that go on way too long because we didn't write them, and there are scenes that are kind of weirdly edited because we hobbled together a scene. I mean, like from just random things that Hemsworth was throwing out, and Thompson in places too because they're riffing off of each other, and
I didn't make a point of saying that.
There are just too many lines that comedic lines that don't land at all for me. I didn't laugh hardly at all.
Oh, I didn't laugh hardly at all either. I felt that there was no real absolute comedy in this, like especially in the first one, where they play off the fact that Will Smith's kind of this, he's got this comedy, but Tommy Lee Jones is just so stern. It didn't have anything close to that in this one.
Yeah, and like we try to reverse that, where like the more stern one is the new agent, and the sillier, the more fun jovial one is the seasoned agent, and it doesn't work at all because it's a I'm not myself plot. For a character that I hadn't met before. So I'm spending this is the worst thing about this movie, and this would be my worst thing. I spend the entire movie not trusting one of my main protagonists, and when I get to the end of the movie, I still don't completely understand what was going on with that. It's a problem.
Yeah.
So Hemsworth, because people think he plays like dumb but charming well, is playing a character who is an idiot but is supposed to be endearing, and throughout the film, we're told that something is wrong with him, that he wasn't always like this.
Right.
When you get to the end of the movie, I don't have a satisfying explanation as to why he is as dumb as he is throughout the film.
But I think
it is a problem.
For me, I found this explanation to be... It's satisfied the necessary requirements of being an explanation. It wasn't like overly great, but I think what they revealed about the night that he saved the world explains why he kind of was the way he was, but
now,
he just didn't understand that.
Doesn't make sense where we leave him at the end. For like, I don't want to spoil anything,
right.
But you needed a moment where he gets his smarts back, and that never happens.
Yeah, that would have been appreciated.
Not just appreciate. It doesn't make any sense. Like when you get to the end of the movie, he's still the dope he's been the whole film.
Yeah, you're right about that.
They think they've given me an explanation, but I don't know what he was like before that. We're just
right.
told,
no,
you're so. And then what's really weird is, so again, I'm trying not to give too much away, but we're told that he used to be really bright, and something has changed and he's off. But then with nothing that has changed his personality at all, in the third act there's a moment where suddenly he's just figured everything out. And he's and then there's a character who says, "You were always really bright." And I'm like, "But what changed? I don't understand." I think the movie's got massive pacing issues. Like I said, I think a lot of scenes go on way too long. There are places where I feel like the thing is trying really way too hard to be funny and to be deep. This is a thing I have not had with any of the other Men in Black films, and again, the sequels are not great, but it's so corny. It's so cheeseball. Through a lot of it's weird.
And it didn't work.
It doesn't know what a Men in Black movie is, except aesthetically and it's a real formulaic plot.
You're making really good points. It's kind of bringing my overall experience down.
It's not good. Well, I don't think. I mean, I think it's. I think
I'm
it's
still on the mediocre end, but yeah.
Oh boy, I don't think it's good at all. The skeleton of the villain plot is fine. Mm-hmm. The execution is too formulaic.
Sure.
But you have I think you have some emotional manipulation in this movie. I also think that there are a lot of scenes that feel inserted because you're supposed to have those in an action movie or in an action comedy. You have your obligatory chases. You have your obligatory. We sit down for 5 seconds and tell you what the characters are supposed to be about. Mm-hmm. And some people may not agree with this, but there are. It also bugs me that the movie feels the need, every 10 or 15 minutes or so, to remind me that it's progressive about women. And that's irritating.
It'd be one thing if...
As I always say, just have a strong female character. And guess what? The first film had that. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest, saddest things about Men in Black 2 is that Elle's not the other agent. But, we didn't feel the need to keep patting ourselves in the back and talking about how progressive we are. We just had a strong female character.
Right, exactly.
And this, there's just kind of cringy lines about that, every woman is a queen and stuff like that. It's weird and it's out of place, and it made me like that character less. I'm gonna say my best thing about the movie is Tessa Thompson. I mean, I like her and everything I've seen her in. Yeah. I didn't love Valkyrie in Thor Ragnarok, but I don't think that was her fault. There's a lot of stuff about that movie I don't like. She had an authenticity in this film that was brought down by the script. I don't think she was given great things to say, but I think she got what the story could have been. It felt like a script where she was having to read between the lines.
Okay.
It's just not a good script. There's some stuff visually that's kind of fun, and here and there idea-wise, like you said about like tech and stuff. Mm-hmm. But it also doesn't have that humans are not the center of the universe. We need to take a step back and see how much bigger the universe is than us. It was like the places in which that idea, which is at the center of Men in Black, the places in which that idea is front and center are kind of just for gags and jokes.
Yeah. I think, I think you had kind of the same experience with the third movie. You said something very similar to that with the third movie
Oh, really?
too. Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember now, but yeah.
So there were a couple things that I also didn't care for with the writing, and that was there were some things that were said in the trailers that directly informed things that we ended up knowing about a couple of the villains in this movie.
Yeah, that's true.
That they didn't actually say in the movie.
Yeah, which happens a lot. And it's important to remember that this is a Sony film, and that's how they advertise things. And they always put too much in trailers, and they always give you stuff that don't actually make it into the film. Yeah.
That was kind of irritating. I guess I just don't see that many Sony films, honestly.
It happens with them a lot. And this just reeked to me of we're trying of Sony like grasping for straws, trying to find that one franchise that they can really milk and get a bunch of movies out of. This felt like a rush job to me.
I can see that.
I also thought most of the aliens looked really bad.
There were several. What was the guy on the cover of the tabloid magazine that ended up being a real alien? That was the worst looking alien I've ever seen in my life, and I just didn't get it. And you're right, one of the main guys who we think is
he looked like he was out of Monsters Incorporated. Like, we weren't even integrating him with the human footage.
Right, no, exactly. He did look like just very modeled.
All the CG creatures to me, and I mean, like, we're not getting even close to Jar Jar Binks. That was 1999, and he looked like he was really there.
And he sounded like Jar Jar Binks.
The seams are maybe showing a little bit more 20 years later with that movie, but man, like that's kind of
the standard we're used to.
That was 20. Well, I mean, this happens a lot. Like when the CG really looks like it's there. It's miles beyond it, but I mean, like, again, Jar Jar Binks was 20 years ago.
Right.
This didn't look anything like on that level.
Right. No,
it was like you took characters out of a Pixar movie, put them next to human beings, and said they were somehow occupying the same space, but not with a conceit like Roger Rabbit. Just they're both there. And I didn't buy it with any alien in the movie.
Speaking of Roger Rabbit and aliens, what was with those shoes with the mouths in them? I didn't understand that at all. Of course, we had the obligatory worms. They made a show up, but even they didn't look like they did in the first movie.
Let me ask you if you had this too. I don't think we had any fun with setting. Like, it's supposed to be fun because we're going to another locale. We're in London. I don't think we do anything with that.
But
like,
we didn't do anything with London. We did mostly with Paris. You know.
Sure, but even then, like, it almost didn't even matter where we were. It just didn't seem like we were having any fun with being over the pond.
Certainly. No, the only things that they kind of tried, maybe you could say they tried to do that, was with the tunnel systems and how it went through the River Thames.
Sure. Yeah. No, that was cool.
And they did rocket, through the tunnel system.
But again,
across
it's
the
all
ocean.
visual. Story-wise, we don't really do anything cool.
Right. I mean, in the first movie, you've got the fact that the World's Fair put these things on display that are actually UFOs. That's fun.
Yeah.
This movie didn't have anything with the exception of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give away about the Eiffel Tower, but I'm not.
You're not sure if it tracks.
I'm not sure if it tracks, but also just because of something we talked about a little bit earlier, I need to see this movie again just to see if there's any inconsistency with the timeline. Because I'm not sure if if the whole Eiffel thing falls in line with the development of Men in Black in the United States versus Men in Black overseas. I can't remember, and that's on me, but it didn't seem to while I was watching the movie. I noted a comment about that, and so I want to see if the timeline works out, but I'm not convinced that this building, that the Eiffel Tower was a la the building in Ghostbusters, where it's this kind of antenna, if you will, for, I don't want to give away too much, but for the main conceit of where these aliens are coming from.
And I was just kind of bored with that story until the big reveal at the end.
Yeah.
Like, you almost could have turned the movie, you almost could have given me, like, the setup at the beginning, the first 10 or 15 minutes, and then the third act, and I probably would have liked the movie more. Like, this felt like I've been hearing this a lot lately with things like X-Men or like Dark Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
I want to call that X-Men Dark Phoenix, but they just called it Dark Phoenix because they were kind of pretentious about a movie that's not very good. I read this article that was like the 48 places where you can get up and go to the bathroom and not miss anything watching Dark Phoenix. And I had that with this. Like, there were all these places where I was like, I wouldn't miss anything if I got up right now.
But the one place you did get up, I feel like there was one line that you missed, and I don't remember what it was. I was going to tell you about it later, but
Sure.
it was probably actually what it was I think the funniest gag in the movie.
Oh,
and
that
it wasn't
sucks.
even that
So I missed
funny.
yeah.
But it was the funniest gag in the movie.
I got up for all of a minute and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't gone long, but it was
I was kind of bored a lot. There was a lot of typical, and there was a lot of, like I said, like cringe cheeseball. And then I just want to see Hemsworth play a more serious character in a comedy, because I want to see if he can do, because I know he can do more subtle comedy. There are places with Thor where he has done that. I mean,
yeah.
we run the gamut with Thor, where it's everything from. You won't know what I'm talking about because you haven't seen Endgame yet, but it's everything from Fat Thor all the way to I'm like the whole world is falling apart and everything is horrible and I'm delivering like a real kind of stoic but amusing line. He can do that stuff. Mm-hmm. If you're gonna put him don't. And I don't mean to rewrite the character or whatever, but I don't feel like there was a character here. I appreciate if he's got to be a dumb lunkhead again. At least there's an attempt at a story reason for it, even though at the end I don't understand it entirely. But I really like to. If it were me and I was casting Chris Hemsworth in this movie, I would do the exact opposite of what you expect. I would have him be the straight man.
Okay.
And I would let Tessa Thompson just have all the sarcastic, she's good at sarcasm. Just let her have the kind of Will Smith lines, or some of that stuff. I don't mean she should be like female Will Smith. I'm just saying there's a real disconnect with their dynamic. I think where because there are places where she sort of has those sarcastic lines,
especially when she first meets him.
And so I find myself wondering, is there a straight man in this duo? Exactly, she sort of is, but it didn't work.
Well, now I will say, I think they wanted to make up until the point where things changed, they wanted to make Liam Neeson kind of a straight man too, but he also had. I don't think they played Agent C real. Agent C wasn't written very well either. I thought he was supposed to be kind of a little bit of a foil.
Yeah, but you can't call Liam Neeson the straight man because he's in the Zed role. I mean,
he's an ancillary character to the main character, certainly. And
But here's what's weird. Here's what's weird. That opening scene with them together, with him and Hemsworth, they have more chemistry as a duo than our actual two protagonists through the entire film. I wanted to see that movie.
I think something that you said
they were kind of fun together. I would have maybe liked that movie.
Yeah, they were fun together. Something that you said to me earlier.
Let me say this way.
Yeah.
This is more disappointing because I liked the opening scene.
Yeah.
And then it all went downhill from there.
Because it kind of felt, the opening scene kind of felt like the ending scene from the first one.
Yeah.
Where, Agent K and Agent J are kind of that started out just kind of what you would want. You're absolutely right. That's a fabulous point. I like how Jason went and watched this movie with us. I kind of like how Jason said that his favorite part of the movie was the opening sequence, just the title sequence.
Yeah.
It lasted all of 20 seconds. It was the shortest one, I think, of all of them. And something that you had mentioned earlier, I think Liam Neeson's character, would you say Agent Qui-Gon Jinn?
Yeah, Agent Qui-Gon Jinn.
Right. Pretty funny because he had all these little one-off sayings that he had imparted.
No, he has the one that we repeat 6 times through the film.
And he's got one more though that showed up in the little box with the compass.
But you got the major one that we just cannot stop saying, and we act like it means more than it does.
Right. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, all it really means is the good guys win. That's kind of all it means. It's not really about anything. And there's also this whole go with your gut motif, which you've seen in 1,000 movies and seemed like it was just pulled somebody rolled a d20 for like cliched point a movie makes.
It would have been better.
Moral of the story.
It would have been better if Liam Neeson's saying had meant something for Liam Neeson, his character ultimately.
Sure.
But it didn't, because of the way we ended this movie. It ultimately didn't mean anything.
I also don't think that. Well, yeah. So like the morals and stuff are all just obligatory. It's trying really hard to dupe you into thinking that it's a real story, and it doesn't really feel like that to me by the end. Nobody really gets a character arc. We pretend like Hemsworth does, but not really. I don't know.
Yeah, if he had not been the lunkhead at the end, then he would have had a little bit of a character arc, but he was still that, like you said, still that.
And even then, it's sort of tantamount to just watching a mind-controlled character through a whole movie until he's not mind-controlled anymore. Like, any way you slice it, it was really weird to start from that place, and we should have lived with that character longer to see the contrast. But then when you get to the end, you realize there isn't really any contrast. He kind of just and here's what's annoying to me about having that kind of repeated saying or moral. The whole the universe has a way of making or putting you where it needs you to be at the right time, right place thing. And then he's just an idiot where the universe coalesces to his will at the end.
Right.
Oh boy, that's irritating.
I would have appreciated more of a montage of Molly's life growing up, how she, kept trying to get... We didn't get very much. They truncated that pretty heavily.
I don't know that I needed any of that.
To her adulthood, that where she decides that she's going to walk out of her one office job to go find a certain thing. I didn't feel like that particular office job, there's no way in heck she would have been allowed to be able to do that with her computer.
I just don't feel like her character really coalesces into much.
Yeah.
Like, it's a nice skeleton, it's a good starting place, but the issue for me isn't lack of backstory, it's lack of substance from like using that backstory for context, right? Like, she's just this girl that figured out Men in Black and is going to find that, and then she's got like that informs her ingenuity, so like that's good, but beyond that we just don't do all that much with it. Like where is any discussion of, and here's what's weird, there are a couple of lines about this, but we don't dwell on it for any amount of time, and we ought to have. What was that minor spoiler? Was that whole thing at the end about becoming a member of the Men in Black? Like there's a price. Like, what are we talking about? Because
relationships. It all comes back to the relationships.
Yeah, sure, but again, it just doesn't entirely. It just doesn't really gel to me.
It's because they were forcing a clandestine love interest.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what that line's about.
And that never came together to me.
It didn't work.
I didn't feel like this would be the one time in her life where suddenly she really wanted a personal life. They needed to make me buy that, and they just didn't.
No, especially because
she kind of just gets everything she ever wanted.
She gets exactly what she was looking for. Her lifelong journey wasn't to have... Again,
skeleton is fine.
Right.
The notion that, like now we're just analyzing the story that you guys might not have watched, some of you, but the idea that through getting everything she always wanted, she realizes what she was missing, that's fine. That could even be great, but it didn't...
I will say my favorite line of the movie...
They didn't get me with that. I didn't buy it.
Was immediately lessened by the comic relief character, the Pawn.
We haven't even talked about that. Nothing he said was funny to me.
But my favorite line.
There were a couple lines on paper that were, but for some reason delivery and I think maybe it's just comedy that doesn't appeal to me. I don't know, because a lot of people in the audience were laughing.
They were kind
a lot of that just didn't
chuckling.
get. I heard some people laugh pretty hard. At some things he said. It just wasn't that funny to me, and a lot of it was kind of like the obvious stuff I would sort of expect, and like an attempt at a lot of it I felt like was kind of an attempt at like Deadpool humor.
Yeah, but the best line of the movie was the line about chemical reactions. But it was supposed to also inform the later possible clandestine love interest that never panned out, so it didn't ultimately work.
That's a really good point you're making. Yeah, I like that too.
But the comic relief character immediately killed that line for me when he said what he said, because I was like, you're saying directly to us what that line is supposed to convey just by the line. Don't hand feed it to us.
And your characters almost felt human to me for a minute.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then you botched it. And I didn't trust it through that scene because it felt like the minute where it happens, like where it falls in the movie, I'm like, okay, this is where the scene happens.
Right.
This is where in movies like this scene happens.
Can I ask a practical thing?
Yeah.
They're in the middle of a desert. They gotta fix this bike, and they built a fire.
Yep.
Where did they get the wood? Did I miss some trees? Was there an oasis somewhere? I mean,
they've got technology. There's probably something they have that did. I don't know.
Anyway.
Who knows? They probably have like a Swiss Army knife that makes fire. I don't know.
Swiss Army wood or something like that.
They have like yeah. Well, it wouldn't have to be wood though. Like they could have something else they could set on fire.
Well, it looked like a pile of logs.
Was it okay? Then I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know.
Anyway,
that's about as dumb as the scene in the original animated Aladdin. Weird. I live in a world now where I have to say that.
All the original animated Disney movies are getting remade.
Have you ever thought about this? Aladdin falls in a puddle. They're in the desert, and you're like, why is there a puddle there?
No. Yeah. Huh.
I'll give the remake that. They did that scene, there was no puddle.
Okay. I do want to see...
The only thing I can come up with... I didn't like it at all. The only thing I can come up with why there was a puddle there is gross, and I don't want to think about it. But, why is there a puddle there?
I don't know. Back to...
But it's like... But it's like that. No, you're right. If there was wood there, then where did they get that?
All right.
I know some folks are probably gonna feel like I'm being too hard on this movie. I didn't care for it.
Yeah, I'm still feeling it. For me, but like I said, maybe a second viewing, not in the theater, at home for free on TV, is gonna inform me more about my overall take on this movie. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes you need to watch it 2 or 3 times.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time.
I had an okay time.
I did not.
No, yeah, I know. Sorry, man, but
that's
you're
all right.
the one who does this for a living.
I know. Well, anyway, everybody, thanks a lot for watching. Sure appreciate it. If you saw Men in Black International, leave your comments and let us know which of us you agree more with, and if you like this movie, if you are feeling it or not feeling it, and we'll see you again very shortly for another one. In the meantime, I was Captain Logan.
And I was Brandon.
See you later, folks.